Hi, this is Melissa Fulgencio, aka Lawyer Lifter, and welcome to another Lawyer Lifter podcast. And I am so excited about this particular guest. She is a client and a fucking badass, seriously. She is the business owner of Movement FX and also Simply Prepped Nutrition, Jane Joaquin. Jane, thank you so much for joining us, and let's start talking.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be a part of this new endeavor for you. So let's do it.
Yeah, so okay, the thing that just captivates me is the fact that when we talk about business, like starting a business, it's always this story where it's a side hustle or it's this little interest or passion. And with you, I feel like you really encapsulate that because you started out totally different. Like you had a full-time gig, you had life things, and then all of a sudden you were just like, you know what? I need to do what I'm passionate about. Let's just take this plan B and make it my plan A. So can you talk to me about what happened?
It was like a domino effect of like life events for me. I was a clinical research director. I worked with phase 1, phase 2, like endocrinology diabetes studies, and I had been doing that for almost 10 years. Pretty much I felt like I reached the top of my career for as far as I could go. And during that time, the last few years of my career, I had been involved in fitness for myself. And it turned into a hobby, but it turned into like more of like a curiosity. So when I had hired my own coach, I went another step further and I received my personal trainer certificate. And then I figured, you know what? I need a distraction from the net, from being a mother, from working full time, the stresses of a job. So I kind of used that hobby and used it as somewhat of as a distraction to be able to help other women that probably needed my type of help, that some other type of woman who understood their situation could help them more on a personal level than versus a, fitness level.
So when was that? That was 2000.
That was 2014.
So yeah, so we're still 2014, social media started to get really started, I think, to climb in popularity as a free medium to share who you are, to be someone, not necessarily who you portray yourself in real life. How did you, with a market so saturated like fitness, what did you do to kind of just put on your big girl panties and say okay, this is the market, but this is also what I love. Should I do it?
Yeah. For me, I had been in social media sharing my journey as a mother since 2011. So that's 10 years ago. And it wasn't until 2012 where I had posted my very first picture. And it's a picture of a 6-pack fitness bag, the meals where you store it in. And
Yeah.
it was the start of my journey. And from then on, I would post pictures of me at the gym, my polar watch, how many calories I burned, and people just started taking to it. And that's when I'm like, you know what? I'm going to turn this into a public account and then start using hashtags, figuring it out. And I just started following the trends of what other people that I was looking to and how they did it. And honestly, vulnerability is something that people tend to overlook. People want to see real life happening in its course. So being the person that I was, I said, you know what do I have to lose other than to be honest and to be extremely authentic with my journey? So I showed all the highs and all the lows. And from then on, 2014 hit. And when I just said, you know what, I'm taking on my first, I think I said 5-10 clients. I do not. I probably had well over 50 emails later on that evening after I posted that. And most of them were sent to me in the tune of, I've been following you for such a long time. I understand where you are as a woman with a career. I need someone like that to help me because you can understand where I'm coming from.
Wow.
So it kind of just went from there and it exploded. And, I wasn't expecting that type of response because, you have this thing called imposter syndrome. You don't want to pretend that you're something that you're not. Am I really this worthy of having all this attention? Am I really good at what I do? So that in itself was another hurdle, but I knew I was onto something.
So like literally what were your overhead costs just to like start, right? Like nothing, the internet.
It was nothing. Internet, the power of media, people don't understand, is a heavily overlooked medium to just go ahead and put yourself there on certain outlets. For me, it was mainly just Instagram, Facebook amongst my family and friends. And that was way for, I wasn't a blogger or anything like that, but just Instagram alone, it really took off for me.
Wow. So it's like there's this word that you said that I love and I put it plastered everywhere too. It's like you said authenticity. And it's like I think that with us like in the younger generation of business people like that is, no matter the industry, no matter how saturated everything is saturated, let's be honest, but like what makes something marketable like a service or a product is like being authentic. And it sounds like what happened with you is like, you were doing life and then you were just showing people like, okay, well, this is also who I am. And then that turned into, okay, well, people want to actually pay me to be myself and help them.
Yes. Weird, right? I thought to myself, am I onto something here or am I just late to the party? But that in itself, you know, I just knew I was onto something. And it wasn't even for a means of making an income. It was me just getting distracted from the now, taking all my stress and putting it into something that I thought at the time it was a hobby and slowly just grew into a passion, into my main business.
So like when did you start making that transition? Because I know there was like rough points where it's like where you said I'm done like with the full-time gig and then you just like moved to movement.
Yeah. So I stopped working full time and I just went to contractor. I was just a contractor for my employer in 2014. I moved directly into becoming a in-person personal trainer early 2015. And when I made that transition, I saw that there was more of a demand on my time on both ends. And it was a matter of which way do I want to go? It was scary because there was a loss of benefits, my 401k, all that security providing for my family. And giving up one for another, that was like a tug and pull because my personality is being able to provide for my family, right? And for me, it was like, you know what? I think it's time to make the jump. And sure enough, I made that jump. They made it easier for me and they canceled my contract. I think the doctor that I was working with, I worked for him for nearly 6 years. He said, you know what? I think it's time for you to make that leap because if you don't do it now, you may regret it and it'll show in your work here. And I don't want a grumpy Jane working for me. So he made it easier for me. And I delved into it full time when she let me go.
Wow. And then, okay, so that's Movement FX. And so, like, Movement FX, was that like remote still or like,
It was remote up until 2015. Um, I had discovered a gym. You may know this character. It was self-made training facility, and I already came on board with clients ready to see me in person. So it wasn't a matter of me going in and starting something new. It was me needing a place to grow an actual physical business. And that's when I went ahead and pivoted into training in person. That's where I kind of found like the difficulties of it as far as being a personal trainer because I didn't have a niche. It was more of me helping women lose weight, gain muscle, the general categories that most women want.
but I feel like you do actually have a niche. You stop me, but like when I look at your stuff, it's like literally making women realize how their outward strength assists their inward strength. And you're just like, she hashtags this amazing thing that I love. And, like I literally do stalk you. Like I'm like, hashtag Jane Payne. But it's like, I love that. I love that. And it's like, it sounds like really like awful, but like I see
Yeah,
what Jane's doing. She does. She has this brick and mortar, but she also has like her women like on Zoom where you're like literally like telling that, watching them and like coaching them. So it's like you're so adaptive, like to even now. Can you like talk about that? Like,
Mhm.
was that always something that movement had, and then in COVID you just like perfected it?
So last year, when the initial shutdown happened in March, I went through a lull, me emotionally, and I thought, you know what? Me going through the lulls because I don't have my in-person clientele, and I'm sure of it. My entire clientele tribe felt it too. So I knew Zoom was there, and I was doing it about 10% of the time. And I thought, you know what? Let me try it and see if this is going to work, because people training people in person is obviously a different
Yeah.
dynamic, right? And I was afraid that it wouldn't capture it through Zoom. So sure enough, I tested it out. And the first class I had probably all my in-person clients I normally see during the week here. And then 75% of my online clientele. So my Zoom call, I've had probably 50 plus women trying to do this class. And I was severely
Wow.
overwhelmed, like little boxes. It's like Hollywood squares. Who's who, what's what, who do I need to adjust, right? So the first go around was a little bit stressful. And that's when I went ahead and adjusted. Lesser people, more attention to them, and it just became a thing. And going on that format, I thought, you know what, this is going to work. It's going to work because even though we're not able to have that physical touch, that physical presence, at least the energy can
Yeah.
still be shared through Zoom. And I wanted them to feel that energy. And that's when Jane
Yeah.
Pain came about. Jane Pain is not a matter of being in my physical presence. It's something that's felt through the workouts on Zoom when they're performing their own workouts, remotely on their own independently, and just going through the motions of how to cope
Yeah.
during COVID. You know, if you say you stalk me, right? I'm very
Yeah.
thought provoking. And I do this to all my ladies that I train. I train primarily women and sometimes their spouses, but I always like to give them questions, thought prompts, for them to be extremely analytical of why they're feeling the way they feel, especially during COVID, or why are they eating a certain way, and kind of work inward. That is also the premise of Jane Pain. It's just not physical pain. It's you going through the motions and allowing yourself that opportunity to emote and process previous traumas, whatever the case may be.
So like you touched on something like I want people to understand is like you are not, you're not a startup. You're in the middle, like you're that sweet spot of like expanding. And so being 6 years movement FX, what is it that you would advise, these business owners who are also in their 5 to 6 year range, like as to
Mhm.
maintaining and also in capturing? Because it sounds like for you, what you've done is you've honed in on a particular clientele, and then also
Mhm.
you're giving them something in the fitness realm that's not really discussed. What's inside happening? Let's talk about inside, which will then manifest outward.
What I would tell people, that's in the same stages of business as me, and I do know a few people locally and online, because we know we're all a big community, we keep
Yeah.
tabs on each other, is to hold yourself accountable for what you're doing in your business. Don't go according to what, A and C are doing, and they're promoting that they're making a lot of money. That's all smoke and mirrors.
Oh yeah, I hate that. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I do, like with the social media, we all can see each other. And what's unique about Uplift and my position is to be the lawyer behind all the business. And I'm like, okay, they are very much about hyping themselves. But like as the lawyer, like I'm like, I spend more time with the startups and like the younger ones because they're very much about first hype. Whereas like us, we're more like, I need the substance, like I need to show like to the people like what their value.
And I think that tends to be overlooked from time to time, especially getting caught up in this now digital age of having to have your branding, your social media, what's the next hottest thing. I think when you're into your business, especially in fitness, it's more so of establishing who you are, not as a business, but as you are as a person, because it's you that they want. It's not the whole service part. I could do competition prep and posing coaching for bikini athletes all day, every day. Anyone can who may have had that experience. But it's a matter of the person who's capturing that moment with that client. And people tend to say, oh, that doesn't matter. It truly does, because I'll tell you, with how I've approached my business over the past 3 years, when I opened my own studio, I've had 100% retention rate throughout.
Oh my God, congratulations.
People don't want to leave me. And if they do, it's because they're military
Yeah.
family, they're being stationed elsewhere. But other than that, people will fight their way through their doors, through these doors, specifically because they need a certain level of service. It's not what I provide professionally, it's what personality I have, that authenticity, going back to that word, is what draws them in. And the best part about it, there's zero effort to it. I'm not trying to be
Yeah.
something that I'm not. And that's the most empowering thing as a business woman,
Yeah.
is to be able to be yourself and then allow everything to manifest itself around you. That's the type of business we, as 5 and 6 years going in, should already possess. And if most business owners don't have that, then I always say, you know what? You need to seek some type of, assistance, mentorship, coaching, because I have coaches all around me watching my back. And if I step out of my bounds of what I'm supposed to be doing as a business owner and as a brand of itself, they'll call me out on my shit. Story. They'll say, hey, Jane, that's not you. That's out of pocket. You better reel it back
Yeah.
in. Like, yes, I, because, masculine energy, right? We feel ourselves sometimes. And sometimes, you know what? You want to express that masculine energy. And I know you feel me on this, because I watch you, you watch me, and I'm all about to tell them. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was just feeling myself for a moment because I'm feeling good and I want people to feel good. And it really rubs off on people. It does. But they tell me that's
Yeah.
not all about, that's not your, but it's
Mhm.
genuine though. If I'm feeling myself, I'm going to tell you, hey, I'm feeling myself, and all that stuff. Bought a
Oh yeah.
car, all
And
that.
that's the thing, like we like I said, we have to get you back more because there's a lot of topics that I want to discuss with you. But that's another thing, is like the general population is okay when a very well-known man exudes that masculine like energy, but like if it's still not a very comfortable perspective, it's not a comfortable opinion when a woman who legitimately owns a business, legitimately has foundation, starts to like pump herself up. It's almost like it's just it's weird. And it's, but why is it weird?
It's just our conditioning over the last how many umpteenth years that, and of course, gender role obviously plays a role, glass ceilings and things like that. But we're seeing a shift. There are much more women that are starting to promote themselves and share how successful they are and allowing themselves to possess that masculine energy. And people always get it misconstrued what
Yeah.
masculine energy is. Everyone possesses masculine and feminine energy. But with women like yourself and I, who let's say we are successful in our business, women need to see that. We need to set the stage for other women to be able to have that type of energy as well. Otherwise, they're never going to be able to break through. They're not going to be able to grow in their business, because when you show that growth, people take to it. They love that energy. They want a piece of that pie. And it isn't a matter of them being a part of you, like hiring you for your services or hiring me. They want it for
Yeah.
themselves. And I feel like someone like yourself, and I stalk you too, like, gosh, I want that for myself. There isn't many women that, for you and I, let's admit, there isn't many women that could be like, ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I was like, you know what I had gone through is not like what you
Mhm.
see now. That was like a shitty
Right.
time to come here, and I want also you to know that there are women out there that have something to say, went through a very similar like shit storm, but they are like killing
Uh-huh.
it. They're there and they have things to say in their very unique experience, professionally and personally. Because business, let's like throw that whole thing. Everybody's like, back in like what the 80s, what the Wall Street movies, they're like business is business. And it's like, nah, like, when women do business, it's not business is business. When women business, it is a unique kind of business.
It's a personal touch that we have. It's definitely a personal touch. And that's where drawing back to that word authenticity, being yourself, whether you understand it or don't see it yet, it draws out a certain type of person that you can create and hold space for. And it doesn't feel like you're working a day in your life. And that's what I strive for every day in what I do. And if I feel like my energy is being threatened, or I even feel like a client is not gravitating towards my outlook on how I coach and help other people, then I don't have any hesitation to say, you know what, this might not be working for the both of us. And I want both of us to benefit from this relationship. And that's another thing in business too. Both parties have to benefit from the services that are being yielded, services that are being received, right? And that's an important thing for me too. That's why I made a post a few days ago saying that I'm not going to be a coach for everybody. And I realized that not too long ago, and opening that door and admitting and submitting to that thought allowed me to be much more powerful in what I do and provide even deeper services for current clientele.
You touch on something that, I want to close with, because is like knowing, even you being 6 years, and we haven't even talked about your kick-ass like meal prep, but like being a business owner for 6 years, you're still learning. And one of the things that like I'm also learning is like what you said, like I am not a lawyer for everybody. And like I'm gonna break up with clients, and some clients are gonna break up with me, and that's fine. But it's still like a little like jarring, because we lead our businesses with our hearts. I mean, I don't know how else to say it except in that mushy way. It's like, even though like, we know it, it's like, it's still like, oh geez, like we just flat out broke up.
That's how I feel too. And we definitely, even though it's not, the most professional way to say it, lead their heart, it's because it's our passion. We wouldn't be doing what we do if we didn't find something in it every day, every waking moment, regardless of the amount of stress that we're enduring. It's something that we have to attack that. We have to nurture that love every day, because it's something that we desire for ourselves, to help other people, but for us as business owners.
I will say that what I'm seeing from my first guest, Tamron, and now you, and also me, and I think it's going to be a trend, is like, it is the passion that is the glue, because at no point do I want to send that message that like being a business owner is like rainbows. It is like the scariest, most stressful. It is like a 24/7, 365. But it is just like what you're saying, Jane. It's like you want to wake up and you're excited. And that is what pulls you and gets you through the stress and gets you through like everything.
Yeah.
It is. Absolutely. It is for how successful. You're never done. You're never done growing the empire. No. It is definitely like a very, very stressful.
It's like, there's a method to the madness every day, and not every day is going to go according to plan. It never does. Let's be honest. But we work the best way we can. We let our logic, our heart, and our resources be our guide. Sometimes you got to follow your heart. Sometimes you got to follow what's the best decision at that very moment. And to be able to differentiate between the two, does indeed make somebody successful and gets their roots down into the ground. Otherwise, if you're constantly running on superficial energy and short-term decisions and running on fumes all the time, you're not going to last. It's just the truth. It's the hard truth. And I have these conversations with other friends that want to start business as a part-time gig. And I tell them, why part-time? Why not part-time? What's wrong with part-time? You can't be half-assed in anything you do. You got to go in all in, baby. And they just look They're like, oh, you're crazy. I said, I'm not crazy. I'm passionate about what I do. And I know the hard work that
Yeah.
goes into it. Don't think you're going to make money off your hobby.
No.
You will, but it's going to be like
Yeah.
a little bit. But when you put yourself into it and you make a huge investment of your time, your resources, whatever capital you have working off of, if you believe in yourself hard enough, and I know it sounds cliche, you got to constantly put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
That's all you can do. Step in front of the other. You may stumble along the way, but shit, I'm gonna be looking good doing it. You know what I mean? With my Louboutins, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to pump out that energy, man. And it's been a long ride for me. And I know it's just scraping the surface with this podcast, but it's a very long ride for me. And I feel like barely getting started.
I know, like you literally keep reinventing yourself, and like please follow this woman, because I follow this woman and I'm like, I'm exhausted. Like I'm both exhausted and empowered and so happy. And it's like, I also want to reach these women, like, you guys, like, be happy for your women. We need to show that we're there and we're the up and up, because we don't get enough attention, but we're doing like some crazy, amazing things. And, like, yeah, so this podcast needs to continue, because literally we didn't talk about Jane and how she pumps out athletes in the competitive bikini physique world. And then she also has a very successful meal prep company, Simply Prep Nutrition. And it's like gourmet stuff, but to your lifestyle.
Exactly. You embodied it just with those
because
few
I
words,
know,
you
like,
know?
because I look at you enough to know, like, okay, I get it. And that's super important. It's like, if I get it just by looking at what your content is and just how you are, you've done it, because I can like literally summarize what that business is about. So like, and we got to continue with Jane, because also like she's doing crazy things. She, like I said in the beginning, she's a wife and she's like a mother of 2 kids. Three kids. I feel like you only show 2 of those kids.
My son is busy gaming, that's why.
Oh my God.
He's too busy.
Okay, that's what I was like, dude. I only see 2 kids ever like pop up. Really, 3 kids.
Yeah.
Okay, really yeah. So like literally, I can't even understand what's going on there.
Me neither. No, me neither. I tell people, I get asked all the time, how do you do it? And I look at them like, you know what? I'm trying to figure that out myself, and I cannot manifest the word sick, describe how the hell I do it, but I do it.
I think that is a uniquely woman experience. And I don't know all the others, because I just started out in my personal life. I just got married. I'm not like a young chick, like I'm 35. There are things like biologically I need to think about. So it's like, I'm looking to you guys and seeing like, how are they doing this? So it's like, yeah, Jane is a fountain of information. Thank you so much for being my guest. I love talking to you. I love seeing you. I think that your content on both businesses is amazing. Jane Joaquin, Movement FX, and Simply Prep Nutrition.
Thank you, Mel. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for tuning in. You can find this episode and others at lawyerlifter.com or wherever you subscribe to podcasts. For questions or comments, you can contact me on our website, lawyerlifter.com, or find me at lawyerlifter on Instagram.